Let's take you back to Greek mythology to begin. Many of you are probably aware of this guy right here. This is a guy named Achilles. It's interesting, he was supposedly a Greek hero. You find him in Homer's The Iliad. And what's interesting is that his mom, Thetis, actually supposedly took him by the heel and dipped him in the river Styx. But because she was holding him by the heel, she didn't dip that part of his body. And so what happened is it turns out that it was Achilles' heel that ended up being his downfall. That's how he ended up being destroyed. Because of that, the cliche, someone has an Achilles heel, has become known as a weakness. What you have to understand, guys, is that Satan is well aware of your Achilles heel. He's got a file, all right? He's well aware of what you struggle with, what the problem is. And here's the thing, he's such a bad dude that he goes out of his way to figure out a way to utilize that, to exploit that, to destroy you. Because you know what? From the beginning, that's all he's ever done. He lies and he seeks to destroy. So what happens is that when we're aware of our own Achilles heel, we're aware of what our struggles are, and we learn to stay away from the Achilles heel, what we do is we once again take that weapon out of the enemy's hands. It just means that we need to be a little bit smarter than the enemy to be able to do that well. You know, when we were growing up, it was very common for all of us to do the whole liar, liar, pants on fire. Sylvester the cat has a kind of an interesting take on that. He says, I am always disappointed when a liar's pants don't actually catch on fire. All right? Kind of an interesting idea there. We're going to put this up to kind of remind us who we're talking about right here, even if it does freak me out just a little bit. What you have to realize as you look at this is that Satan came along, and he said, God says that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that we can't eat from it or we'll die. And Satan's like, what? He said, what? Oh, come on. Please, that's ridiculous. You're not going to die, knowing full well that's exactly what was going to happen. What he did, guys, and I want you to think about it, is the liar, the consummate liar, said, God's the liar. No, God's lying to you. He just knows that you'll become God if you go against him. You know, Jesus had an interesting thing to say about Satan. If you remember in John chapter 8, verse 44, he was talking to the Pharisees at that time. And to the Pharisees said, you are of your father the devil, and you seek to do the desires of your father. For he was a murderer from the beginning, and he does not stand in truth, for there is no truth in him. And when he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own nature, because he's a liar and the father of lies. We got to get a hold of this fact. As we said, in the beginning, God made everything perfect, and we broke it. But the second part is, in the beginning, Satan, from the beginning in the Garden of Eden, has lied to us, and we've got to learn to beat the lie. So I think you can see where I'm going with this. Sea lions. Here, let me explain. Most of you are aware of sea lions. You've probably been over at some point to San Diego to see them there, and you're aware, how clumsy they are on land. They can hardly move. Boy, they stink, don't they? Man, they stink horribly, but they love to lay around and just be in the sun, just what they do. There's a problem that they've run into, though, and that is this. They have a favorite food, and that favorite food is this, seagulls. You got to wonder, how does that happen? Really? You see, what happens is the seagulls go out and they fly over the water, and what they're doing is they're looking for food in the water. And what happens is that sea lion that's just laying around, lounging around, sees that and dives into the water. Now, a sea lion in the water, incredibly agile. And what the sea lion does is it actually swims right underneath where that seagull is just looking for that food. And a sea lion takes its body and it puts it straight up, and it begins to rotate its body. It takes the tip of its nose and just touches the surface of the water, so that as it does that, it creates a look remarkably like water bugs playing on the surface of the water. It continues to do that until the seagull sees that, and it comes swooping down to get the water bugs. The sea lion actually pulls a little bit down below the surface of the water, and when the seagull hits, dinner is served. Guys, you have to realize that's quite an illustration of what the enemy does to us. You see, just like the seagull, at that moment that seagull thought, everything's good, everything worked out, I'm going to be full, I'm going to be satisfied, I'm going to be happy, and the next thing it knows, it is broken and destroyed and dead. You see, guys, what we have to understand is that the enemy is always trying to sell the lie. It's our job to recognize that, to hate the enemy and not buy the lie. So since God made everything perfect, and we broke it, we have to turn around and realize that the enemy is the one that wanted all that brokenness to be there. He constantly lies to us, and we look back at him and we reject the lie. We refuse to buy the lie. This week, make that a priority. Don't buy the lie.